All right. Hey guys, welcome to today's episode. And I am going to share with you the training that I have put together on content marketing. And really, this is what we're all here about, right? This is the content toolbox. I have taken some cool framework structures and put together a way to remember content marketing unlike any you've ever seen before. And I promise it's going to stick with you. You're going to be able to figure out exactly where you are and what you need to do with the next steps. This one is helpful to have in a visual, but if you are not in a visual area, take a listen because you're still going to be able to catch what is going on. And we will see you on the outside. Thanks, guys.
I ran marketing departments in corporate America for 10 years and then ran a digital agency for over another 10 years. So I know the roadmap to online success, and that formula always includes producing content to share your message, from your marketing message to sales and delivery. Hi, I'm Jennifer Neal, and you're listening to the Content Toolbox. I believe the secret to finding and creating raving fans online is through you. In building relationships through stories that share who you really are, create genuine, crazy, raving fans that keep begging you to take their money. And on this podcast, we'll be talking strategies, tactics, tips, and more with myself and other industry experts. So buckle up and start your engines, because it's go time.
Hi, welcome to how to create content that attracts and converts. Because after all, that is what we are after, is conversions, right? So how did we get here? Why am I actually presenting this? For that, I have a little story. All right. What is this a photo of? And why is there, This is because year after year, I go to many different marketing conferences, and I really enjoy getting to know so many different people, meeting different speakers, and I started to see a pattern. People that I had done work for or that were friends, I'm seeing them up on stage getting these awards. This photo is a representation from the latest ClickFunnels Live conference, where I knew more people going on stage and getting awards. And I thought, maybe it's time for me to actually earn one of those awards, right? I have been working in small business marketing for over 20 years. And I actually started off initially in corporate design. And I worked for many different small businesses running their marketing departments. I started off in graphic design, and then I moved forward through every other possible facet of marketing and really just got my chops doing all the work sort of on the ground, finding out what worked and what didn't, and where we could optimize for efficiency. So then I left corporate world and started my own design agency. And at that point in time, we were doing marketing automation and graphic design, and we were building funnels and all sorts of custom awesome things. In fact, many of which we built 6- and 7-figure funnels for people who ended up on these stages, and I could not have been happier for them. But again, I'm going, maybe it's time for us to have one of those awards. Now, I could technically get one for saying, hey, I built the funnel that put this person on stage. But if I'm going to earn an award, I want it to be for our business. So I decided after 10 years of running an agency, it was time for a change. So how did I decide to change? I said, if I'm going to follow the right path, like if I'm going to shift my business model, I want to make sure that I am following the best path possible. And what that means is I'm putting my superpower to work. One of the things I am really good at is looking at all of the people that have been successful, finding the patterns, and then creating a system around that. I'd love to look at spreadsheets. I think spreadsheets are one of my love languages. But I looked back at how some of the people that had gotten these awards, what were they doing? How did they get there? I looked at the people that we had been working with and that had been really successful. How are they getting success? Like, what is the pattern that was common between all of them? So that's exactly what I followed, and I found the pattern. And I want to share it with you guys, because what I realized is that it all comes down to content. It comes down to your messaging and making sure that you have the right flow to be bringing traffic through, and that you have that content that converts. So I realized that Well, it all comes down to content. Every one of us is on a different point in the journey, but the steps that we're going to go through are the same. And I followed this path all the way up to the tippity top of people like Pat Flynn and Neil Patel. So this is the pattern that I have found. And this is actually just a guideline here. This is the content marketing journey. And in here, what we're looking at, besides the lovely spreadsheet, because my love language, is this is meant to be a guideline for you to kind of help figure out where you are at on the path in your content marketing journey. So what you're going to look at is the stage. So the stage of like, where is your content marketing stage? How much are you publishing and producing? Again, this is just a guideline. Okay, what is the importance of content marketing to you and your business at this point in time? Because some businesses may be 1 year old or just getting started and it's super important. Some businesses may be 10 years going and it's still something that's like, maybe I'm just going to kind of dabble a little bit. It doesn't necessarily mean length of time to where you are at, but how important is it in your business? And then what is the question that keeps you awake at night? What is, like, you're going to be asking all of these questions of yourself all the time. But what you really want to think about is, what is the main thing? Like, what's the main worry where I'm kind of always like, what is the thing that I'm getting stuck on? All right. So then once you've identified that, all right, what is the biggest thing that you need to do? So our biggest needs, these are the things that we need in this category. Again, a guideline, generalization, right? And the final thing here, what do we need to do in order to graduate, to move on to the next step? Now, when you look at this, you guys, I took this model from Alex Sharfin. He has the Billionaire Code. If you're not familiar with it, totally recommend checking it out. But one of the things that he says is, if you look in here and you identify where you're at, most all of us get in there and we look to the right, which is awesome because we want to see where we are going as visionaries. However, it's also important to look left, because if you have not mastered the items that are before you, you need to make sure that you are mastering those things as well. Otherwise, you can progress and things will start to crumble and fall apart. And I've seen that pattern quite a lot. All right, so since we are talking about content, before I move on, make sure that you get here, figure out kind of where you're at, get a guideline of what the thing is that you need to focus on. All right, so since we're talking about content, we're going to move forward and say, what exactly is all of this content that we're going to be producing, and where does it live? How does it work? What are we going to do with it? So I have, look, another spreadsheet. I put together another spreadsheet, and I meant this as a guideline again. So what we're talking about here is content that kind of the different levels of content and ideas of where it lives sort of on the spectrum. So stumble content are things like social media. So it's going to be Facebook posts, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. Like, these are all just social media posts, things that people are going to stumble across in their everyday life. They may not necessarily be looking for it, right? Okay, star status. This is PR things, television shows, YouTube shows these days, right? Guest appearances on podcasts. This is you being a guest on somebody else's spot. That is, again, star status. It's very similar to stumble, but it's somebody else producing it with you as the guest. All right, sharing. These are things like joint ventures, lead magnets, trainings that you're putting together. It's a little bit more in-depth content and ways that you can share a little bit more about yourself. Search content. These are absolutely key. This is content that's coming from multiple different search engines. And the big ones that we really want to talk about are Google, Pinterest, and YouTube. Now, technically, Google and YouTube are both owned by Google, but the search engines do operate a little bit differently. All right, so subscribe. Podcasts, courses, YouTube channel. These are things that you are producing consistently and that people actually sort of opt into, and they say, yes, I want to continue to receive information because I like what you are sharing. So again, as a guideline, because I get that people can listen to podcasts and not have subscribed. So in that point, podcasts can become something more like search information or stumble information. So you can see how this stuff can kind of go around, but using this as a guideline. All right, so then we also have selling. And in here, we want to have ads, webinars. We're talking about pay-per-click ads, like all sorts of different things like paid traffic that we are sending back to our business. And then we have, because I had to have more S words, right? We had to have stuff. And that's just printed materials, collateral, your custom boxes, if you've listened to Mark's presentation. Lumpy mail. These are physical tactile things that we are giving to people, and another way of sharing our information. But it typically is like, obviously we have to have their some of their information in order to even be able to get it to them. And then of course, because the final S word I had to have is stalking. And that gets into your email marketing, marketing automation, when you're doing personal consults like phone calls, Zoom meetings, any of those kinds of things. So just to give you a guideline, the traffic flow, the time that you're going to be using these different types of content are typically starting over on the left here with cold traffic, and then as the traffic warms up is when you're going to be serving up some of the other things towards the right as a guideline, just to kind of show you how some of this stuff works. All right, so next up we have the same content stuff, but I just wanted to show you really quick as well that in terms of complexity, not only does the traffic move from cold to hot, but we also increase mostly in our level of complexity as we move from left to right as well. All right, so how did I even arrive at putting this content together? Well, in my pattern searching and in looking at our customers and online gurus out there, what I identified was that there were 3 big mistakes that people were either making the mistakes or managing to avoid. So obviously those that were avoiding are much more successful. So what we want to do, the 3 biggest mistakes that I found, 1 is reusing poor content. So content repurposing is becoming this big thing, and it's really awesome, and I love it. In fact, we have a whole course on it, and we're developing something really awesome right now with content repurposing. But if you start with bad messaging to begin with, and then you just repurpose it, you're just putting a whole lot more bad messaging out there. So we want to make sure that it's good messaging, it has a good story, it emotionally connects, and that you're testing it to know, okay, this is good stuff. People want this. It's repurposable. So you want to make sure that you're looking at your metrics before you're just repurposing. Okay, next up, you pulling, not pushing. So there are a lot of marketers that just push. Paid ads only are such a great example of this. Or like fear-based marketing and like using just fear-based marketing and not the attraction stuff. So if all you're doing is pushing people instead of doing the like Austin, I love Austin Dixon. He says, use the chocolate covered carrot. So like we're going, hey, look at this. Don't you want to come get this? It's chocolate covered carrot. Yeah. So we're attracting them towards us. If you're not attracting people to you, you're going to lose them because if you think about it on the spectrum, so there is avoiding pain, right? Or going towards something that they like. So if you're positioning this correctly, you're going to win either way, because if they're avoiding pain and your message is in the way, they're going to be coming right to you because they're going away from the pain that they have. And then they find you and they're coming towards your message. They're being attracted to you because it's drawing them away from their pain. And they're like, oh, I have hope that something else is going to be awesome. So using pull, not push. The second mistake is, let me be very clear about that. Push is the mistake, pull is the correct way. Okay, third is having a strong foundation or not having a strong foundation. So what we want is, I have seen too many companies out there that are like, okay, I created this thing and I'm going to go sell it. And they don't have the systems for nurture and onboarding and delivery and the things that you need to do to make sure that you're taking care of people, that you're able to capture where people are coming from and serve up information to them as they need it. So that is having the strong foundation or not having a strong foundation. Has literally, I have seen this mistake alone absolutely tank what should have been 7-figure launches. And I usually get the phone call the day before or like the day after when people are going, oh my gosh, we're doing this launch and I don't have any of this stuff set up and it's going to be an epic failure. And I'm like, yeah, it is. So we've pulled a lot of all-nighters to try to get the foundational elements set. And if you're just getting started or you're even partway on this journey, having that strong foundation is so, so important. All right, so if we look at these 3 biggest mistakes, this is exactly where this presentation came from. So we look back at number 1 here, reusing poor content. Okay, so what do we want to do? We want to create content. We want to create good content, good in play. And we want to know that it's good content because we want to be testing it, right? So in order to create good content, we want to know who to talk to. We want to know what we're going to talk about because we will have tested what are the topics, what do people need to hear. We already know who our avatars are. We've really dialed that in. And then we're going to go ahead and repurpose that information. It's going to create that great content and it's going to maximize the effectiveness of that content. So that's how to create content. Okay, that attracts, if you remember our over here, pull, not push. So we want to attract people, which is, we want to pull, not push. Here we are. We want to grab the hidden traffic and we also want to repel the wrong, because so important to make sure that not only are we attracting the right people to us, but we're also filtering out the people that we don't want to work with. So that gives us how to create content that attracts. And what's left? We want to talk about conversions. Conversions are so tied into your foundation. As I mentioned, the mistakes that I've seen before that have literally crashed launches. So we want to make sure that we have optimized performance of not only our content, but the whole entire engine. How are people coming in? How are they seeing all of your message? Are they being exposed to your entire value ladder? We want to really pay attention to the customer journey. From the point that they very first stumble across our stuff on Facebook to the point where we're getting on a phone call with them and then we sell them, it does not end there. The customer journey continues because you have a whole value ladder that you want to get people through. So that journey is so important, and you have to pay attention to that, because then your messaging, the content you're creating, will help to continue to convert people along that journey. So we want to make sure that we are continuing to elevate them. We're continuing to enhance their experience. And obviously, the final convert is we want to get them to purchase, which is why we are here and what affects our bottom line. Okay, so you guys, I have created, because I'm a visual person and started off with all the design experience. So not only are spreadsheets my love language, but I also love to draw visualizations of what it is that we're talking about. So if you guys are okay with it, I want to share this. This is what I call the content marketing formula. It looks a bit like some sort of a Death Star shooting something. I know it looks a little crazy, but we're going to walk through it and you will be in love with this by the end. I promise you. All right. So where we start off is with our foundation. So if you imagine right here, the circle is our business. The circle is our world. This is the world that we want to bring people into. Now, all of our potential prospects and customers, they're out there in the real world, is as illustrated by this little highway on our drawing, okay? So people are living out there, and what we want to do is we want to create a message. So we're creating content that is going to connect our world to their world. So we're creating that strong message that's going to build that emotional bond and connect us. Okay. Now, next step, what do we want to do? We need to optimize that message, optimizing by doing our content repurposing. We know we have good messaging. We want to optimize that. We want to make that connection bigger. We want to enhance all of that information that's going out there. So that road all of a sudden was like one little connection. Now we have like an information superhighway, right? Because we're repurposing stuff. And see the arrow, we are attracting that traffic back to our business. So we're doing the attraction. All right. So then what next up is we want to say, okay, all you people out there, all my potential prospects and customers, we want to get them to notice us. And the notice part is these are the hooks. These are the little sound bites. These are the nabs. These are the things that people are going to be like, oh, wait, what is this? And the more content that you are repurposing and putting out there, the more little like road signs that you're putting out there and people are going to see you, right? So we want to get them to notice us. Then they're going to notice us. What do we want them to do? We want them to turn their attention off of information superhighway and everything else that they're looking at. We want them to focus attention to our message and draw into our business. That's exactly what we want. So we get them to turn their attention, and then they're coming in. They are coming into our world. They're going to live in our little circle. So now what we want them to do is they're inside of our circle. They can live in our circle and eat up our content for as long as they need until they're kind of ready. When they're ready, we want them to engage. And we are going to use our content to help push them to engage so that that process goes quickly as possible. So by engaging, what this is, if you see all the little satellite thingies out here, all the little lollipops coming off of our business world are the products and programs and services that we offer. And down at the very bottom, we have our freebies, we have our lead magnets, we have our free opt-ins. So by engaging, they're paying some sort of a toll. Now, a lot of times they are going to pay by opting in with their email address or their phone number or scheduling a call, or they may also engage directly and go straight in to buy one of our programs. So this is just illustrating that we have all these different ways that people can engage with us. And when they're in our world, they can say, oh, this is what I want. Like, I want to go here. I want to go ahead and trade my email address for more information because I'm taking an actionable step to the next step. Okay. But that can be any of these different things as we're ascending through our value ladder. All right. So next up, when they have engaged and there are little satellite pieces, what we want to do is we want to make sure that we're nurturing them. As soon as they engage, we want to take care of them from then on out. So if they are just coming in and they've traded their email address for our attention, we are going to go ahead and give them a nurture sequence, a welcome sequence, a warm-up, onboarding, whatever it is that you want to call it. If they have engaged into an actual program and they engaged by paying money to join one of our programs, we want to make sure that we're doing a customer onboarding. We're following that customer journey. We're giving them a fantastic experience all the way through. We want to make sure that after they've finished one of those little circles, that we continue nurturing them and letting them know, hey, there's more circles. Do you want to keep going? So we're continuing to nurture and care for them all the way through this process. Super, super important. This is one that is often overlooked. All right. And ultimately, we want to track how everything is doing. How is the engagement? How is the nurture? Where are people buying? Where are people dropping off? How are our notice signs? How is our attraction marketing doing? What percentage of people are turning their attention to us? We want to be tracking these metrics because we're going to take that information and use it to elevate the experience and to make our journey even better. So all of our content is going to be fed by the things that we're learning from the content and people going through it. So it's a continual optimization process. All right, make sense? Okay, so this is the content marketing formula as a whole. Here we are. We have create, where we're going to create our message and share our world to them. We are going to optimize and do all of our content repurposing. We're going to expand our message and just really get it out there. We're definitely going to get people to notice us through our repurposing methods and all of the amazing little hooks and sound bites, repurposing stuff that you're putting out there. They are going to turn their attention to us, and then they come into our world and they are going to engage with one of the products or services that we are offering. All right, then we are going to nurture them and make sure we're taking care of them and track everything that's going on. That is the entire process. Pretty cool. It doesn't look so much like a spaceship anymore, right? Like a reverse Pac-Man sort of, I don't know. Anyway, I know that it may still seem a little bit complicated. So I wanted to show you guys. I really set this up so that it's very easy for you to remember. You ready? Here we go. All right. C, create. O, optimize. N, notice. T, turn. E, engage. N, nurture. And T, track. Look at that. We have content as the content marketing journey. How amazing is that, right? Love it. All right. So what does this look like when we compare it back to our content spots? All right, so we have, if you think back to our spreadsheet that we had here, here's our spreadsheet with our 8 S's, our content spot S's. So we have our stumble, star status, share, search, subscribe, sell, stuff, and stock. All right, so what does that look like on our map? We have stumble. This is the stuff where people are out in information highway and they're noticing our signs. They're stumbling across our content. All right, star status lives in much the same area. They're going to be stumbling across the information. Some of it kind of lives on that turn bridge because if it's a JV type thing, well, actually, here we go, share. So if we have JV things, they're going to be introducing us. Star status, sometimes there's introductions and things. So it all kind of lives out there. Important thing is it's all grabbing that attention and turning that attention towards us. That's what we want. All right, search traffic lives in here. This is huge amount. There is so much lost traffic in here. People are out searching the internet. So if our content repurposing does not include what's happening for search land, they're not going to end up finding us. So search land, very important. All right, subscribe. Subscribing is when they're engaging. They're taking action into any one of those things, our freebies or our free courses or really low-level courses as well, right? Selling, these are webinars when we're getting on the phone, we're doing some of these things. They're in our world already, and we are inviting them to something where we are actually going to sell them. Awesome. So what we're doing is they're in our world and we're pushing them into our satellite of all of our products and services in some way. Okay, stuff. Stuff is the printed materials, the collateral, those kinds of things. A lot of times they may already be in our world. It could be something that helps attract them to us. It could be books. They could already be in our world, and it could be a custom box or a welcome letter or something that we're sending out to them. All right, now we have stock. Here we go. Stocking is all of the marketing automation, that nurturing, a lot of that stuff that we're doing. Once they have given us their information, we are customizing that journey for them to make sure we are taking care of them all along the way. Now you notice in here that the track arrow doesn't actually have anything on here. That's because tracking applies to all of these steps and all of these types of content. Very, very important. So just because it's not highlighted here, do not think that it's not important. All right. So remember our content marketing journey and where you fell on that spectrum. So what does our content marketing journey look like on the visualization? Well, let's see. We have our content marketing journey here. Okay. So the hopeful people are out here going, okay, I see this. This is really cool. What they have is basically they have the circle, they have their world, and then they have the people that have been out there, and there's some little random like, you know, trailheads that are kind of connecting people, but there's no content bridge really set up yet. All right, next up we have the engager. The engager is creating that bridge, like consciously creating messaging that is connecting our world to prospects and customers out there. So that is our next step engager. All right, the next one after that is publicist. This one is so important because this is the place where our messaging is really starting to attract people in because we have a good connection between our business world and the rest of everybody out there, all of our potential prospects and customers. And this is the foundation. This is the core piece that I have seen take many companies down. So what this is, the publicist at this point is making sure that I have the strong, solid foundation of this is my business. This is my value ladder. Here's how everything is connecting. Here's how I'm going to make sure that everybody who comes into my world knows about all of the different products and services that I'm offering. All right, next up we have the producer. The producer is going to say, hey, now we have a nice, strong, solid foundation. I'm going to go and take that content that we're using and I'm going to blow it up. I'm going to go do full-on repurposing, and we are going to get a lot of attraction traffic coming through here. And then we start stacking on that. We have the engineer who's starting to create a whole lot of all of those notice signs out there going, hey, come into all of our content, come into our world, right? Okay. We have the director who's moving back over. Now that we have like a strong, solid system of people coming into our world from the top of our funnel, what we have is the director who's saying, okay, what's going on with my nurture system, with the customer journey? How can I make it better? How can I optimize that experience? And the investor is looking at all of the stats. At this point, we're saying, all right, we're really going to dig into all of our metrics, and from all of our marketing and our content, like how are we going to make that content better? And how's that going to feed back into our customer journey? It's all about the optimization steps that we're paying attention to from the tracking. This is where it gets like super important. This is the level at which people get all of the super all the tracking codes, and you know, like it gets really in depth to make sure that you're tracking everything at this point. So that you know exactly what is working and where people are converting, and you have the entire numbers story for everything that's going on in your business. And then we have the contributor. And the contributor is really, at this point, the entire machine is this organic living thing that's just constantly growing and optimizing and helping more and more people, right? And the contributor is like, okay, I'm going to come out here and I'm going to help turn attention, some of it to us. I'm also going to go and help other companies, like help them turn more attention to their business. So this is where this is the giving back stage. All right. So in final, what I want to do is look back and say, okay, remember the 3 mistakes that we talked about? Avoiding the mistakes. So reusing poor content. That is a big mistake we want to avoid. What does that look like on our map? Well, it shows up here. It means that our attraction, or the places where people are noticing us and turning their attention to us, and in our repurposing, there we are, that we're not using the right stuff. So we're not going to be pulling the right people in, or we may not be pulling as many people in as we want to. Okay, so that's where that mistake lives. Pulling, not pushing. Okay, where does this one live? This lives in the attraction, that little attraction arrow. If we're not using the right messaging and we're not using the right tactics, we're actually going to be driving people away. They're going to be going the wrong direction on our little one-way street into our business. So we want to make sure that we are pulling, not pushing. And In final here, our strong foundation. The strong foundation incorporates our business world, the little satellite, all of the nurture, and all of the tracking that's saying this is the core of our business. We want to make sure when people come into our world that we can follow what they're doing, we can track their information, and we can introduce them to all of our products and services so that when they're ready, we can continue to elevate them along the way. This is that strong foundation. There we are. Okay, so avoiding the mistakes, reusing poor content, pulling, not pushing, and strong in foundation. So think about where you live on this map. Remember this visualization. Remember CONTENT for our different steps. And pay attention to where the places are that you need to bolster. That what are the things that you need to work on so that you can master the step that you are on right now in your journey and that you're ready for the next one. All right, thanks for listening. If you have a desire to dig in any one of these realms, check out the Content Toolbox. We have a resource area in there, including free resources from all of our guests that come on the podcast. Amazing. All we ask for is your email address so that we can include you in our super fun emails that we send out every week. So go check out thecontenttoolbox.com. Make sure that you get into the resource area and keep listening to the Content Toolbox. Thanks, guys.